So big challenge going to Detroit this week. I have a lot of respect for Coach Patricia and Coach Pasqualoni. The scheme is really sound. It's really good. They're going to make us work. And then they got the players. Their personnel matches their scheme. They got some really stout, big, physical guys up front. In the back end, they got a lot of DBs, and all of them can play. Darius Slay's a really good player. Everybody around here has known him for the past few years. I got a lot of respect for their safeties. Those guys can run and cover ground, and they'll hit you. So we've got our work cut out for us, and it's a division game on the road. So I think our guys, as we just finished day two, of our preparation, I think our guys are going to be ready to roll. Going back to last week, pleased with the effort versus Miami. Anytime you can run the ball like we did, it helps everything. So special credit to the offensive line. I commend them. Those guys really came off the ball. But then anytime you're running with that type of success, it's the tight ends, it's the running backs, it's the wide receivers. So nice job, but we kind of are moving on to Detroit.
Is there a little more normalcy for you this week, having the full week of doing this?
Yeah, I think last week was a short week, and that was probably the hardest part about last week. But now having a normal week and a normal amount of preparation is good for us, and I think the players are kind of understanding the rhythm and flow to how we're going to install some things, and so it's yes, having a normal week is better than a short week for sure.
What were some of the things you did to prep for your first game for play calling? The sideline reporter during the game on the broadcast said you went into Zimmer's office and it was kind of like a game of battleship or something like this. Yeah, explain.
Yeah, just Coach Zim had a good tip. Something he does and has done for a long time is just putting basically you run the play and you say what you may have called there, and then you watch the play and you say would that play have been good or not. So it's just taking yourself through the rhythm of a game and how you're going to call it, both in the run and the pass.
Kevin, what's the biggest benefit in staying in the same personnel groupings and then running multiple plays out of that? Is that where, because we heard from a lot of players that simplicity, everything was simplified for them. Is that where that comes from, like that type of concept?
I think we're trying to put a plan together where you're unpredictable. So certainly if you're staying in one personnel grouping at times and you're running it and you're throwing it, I think that can make yourself unpredictable to the defense. On the other hand, you like to mix in personnel so that they have different people running on the field and they got to defend against different people. So I think you try to find that balance of staying in one personnel grouping, and there are some teams that stay exclusively in one personnel grouping, and there's some thought to that too, but then making yourself difficult to defend and throw out multiple tight ends, then throw multiple wide receivers out.
How beneficial was some of the heavier personnel at 22 to 12, like being able to get those tight ends in there to affect what you guys did in the run?
Yeah, they did a great job, and that's what last week's game plan called for. And again, I commend the tight ends and the running backs. Those guys did a great job. The fullback, but that was kind of last week, and this week it might be different or it's the same. We kind of look at it on a week-to-week basis.
Like Zimmer said a couple times this week that it's not going to be as easy to run on Detroit as it might have been last week. What do you see in the Lions run defense and kind of the test that you do?
Yeah, they're big people up there, and we're gonna have to win some 1-1 battles. Again, across the board, they're just big, space-eating, two-gap, attack you type defense, and that's a challenge for the offensive line. And last week is last week, so that the scheme was a little bit different. So we're ready for the challenge this week and look at those guys and the guys across from them. The nice part is going back to, we played them one time, so we kind of get a feel for how they play, a little bit of a feel for how we play.
Kevin, as guys like Adam and Stefan get doubled, are there ways for you to scheme it so that they can break free on that, or do you just say, hey, other people have to step up at that point?
Sure. We spend a lot of time talking about that, and the answer is never. It's complicated. At times, you're going to try to get them open. At times, you're going to say, listen, there's one football, and someone else is going to win. There's a bunch of different aspects and a bunch of different ways to attack that. And certainly when we have the skill guys that we have, I understand defenses that try to do that, but it's then our job to get in the meeting room upstairs and draw up some plays that both, don't completely take our guys out of it, but that allow us to have some success, particularly on third down.
How different did last week feel, just kind of the flow of the game for you and being calling plays.
Yeah, I mean, hadn't done it before. It was different. I had a lot of confidence because of the players and the coaches that were helping me. But it was different. But once I got through that first series and figured out that you press the button, you talk to the quarterback, it was kind of, I don't want to say easy, but I told Zim, if I can't figure that out, we got some problems. So after the first drive, I felt pretty comfortable.
Couldn't have gone much better, right?
Yeah, again, it was our goal to start fast. It's going to be our goal to start fast every week, but I was pleased to see the guys come out really in attack mode throughout, and certainly early to score some of those touchdowns. That's going to be our goal every week.
Is 21 touches in that realm, is that kind of the happy medium for a guy like Dalvin?
I don't know. I think every game's different. That's why I rely on Kennedy Polamalu. Really, Kennedy has a very good feel for the backs, and when he's got to roll Latavius in there and get Dalvin in there. So kind of lean on Kennedy and talk to him throughout the game. But I don't think we have a specific number in mind.
With Dalvin in the passing game, as far as like him providing a spark at the goal line, is that something that you kind of hope to see more of maybe in the future?
Sure, and I just kind of go back to Dalvin. Everybody knows is a really good football player, one of our best. So any way we can get him the football, we're going to try and do it both in the run and the pass, and certainly down towards the goal line.
What's it been like personally for you the last week and a half? I imagine there's been a lot of people from your past and former coaches reaching out, last week, maybe congratulating you on the new position, giving you advice, and then again after the game, they're probably reaching out and saying great job, what have you. So what's it been like from that standpoint?
Yeah, I appreciate the text, and that was kind of a one-time deal for me, and then we're moving on. So it's last week we enjoyed it for, I'm already breaking my 24-hour rule. I'm going to be in trouble here with the offensive line. I'm getting a fine, but I'm trying to move on from last week. But again, we're ready. We recognize that the effort last week was good, but it's required again this week.
What's your thing with the offensive line?
You just got to be careful with the offensive line. They'll fine you for just about anything. So
We're talking about the Miami.
no, I'm not even going to talk about it.
Hey, Kevin, for you, what's going to be the challenging part when you start putting tendencies on tape and how you do things of maintaining the consistency?
Sure, and I think that's just part of the game plan when you're putting it together. It's important to know yourself, and I'm talking about our staff and knowing our scheme and knowing our play. So we try to know ourselves as well as the opponent does, because then that informs us in our decisions and in our scheming and game planning.
Is that less of a concern, though, given that you've only been calling plays for 1 week, or do you think teams are really going to break down?
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I think, again, the fun part of this business is you get in on Monday and you erase the board, and then you say, all right, how are we going to put a plan together to win this game? So will there be some carryover? Sure, but I would hope that it's not exactly the same.
I won't ask about the Miami game, but a future-oriented question, kind of looking way back. Can you kind of go through how you landed with the Vikings back in '06? I guess you were with Childress with the Eagles, and he brought you on, and how did that whole process work, and you get your first NFL job?
Do you have my bio? Yeah, I mean, I'm just fortunate to be here and been here for so long. We got a great ownership group. But yeah, I came out here long time ago, and came out here with Brad Childress when he came from Philadelphia. I'd interned with those guys in Philadelphia, and kind of stuck around and just kind of tried to keep my nose down and do some work.
And in terms of when Zimmer came, did he kind of interview you, or what was kind of the key, and him decided to retain you and all that back in 14? To go back, I try to remember all that. I don't remember all the details, but obviously, since Coach Zim's been here, he's been awesome. Particularly with me, working with the tight ends, with the running backs, with the quarterbacks, has been really has helped shape and inform me as a coach. And again, he is always going to be a resource for me, especially now as we're putting together game plans. And one more way back question. I guess you and Favre kind of joked back and forth from what I've heard. What do you kind of remember about the relationship you have with Favre, and maybe kind of the way you guys joke back and forth?
We don't have enough time for Favre stories. Brett's was a great player here for a couple of years. Was great for me as a young coach being in that room, in the quarterback room for the first time, and seeing how he operates. And but what I appreciate most about Brett, and I've told our quarterbacks this, is he was a great teammate. He was great to his teammates, both by just being himself, and then on game days they just saw how important it was to him, how hard he worked. So that's one of the things I will always take with me, just about how you lead a team and how you are a great teammate to the guys around you.
It seemed like there was more concerted effort to have Kirk under center instead of the shotgun. How does that kind of benefit Kirk, maybe the running game and play action?
Yeah, I think there's pluses and minuses to both being in the gun and under center. And I think that week to week, it may vary. And I just go back to Detroit, we ripped off that long run to Dalvin, that was out of the gun. So I don't think it's an exclusive thing. We're just trying to be as difficult as we can to defend.
Last couple?